Y'all, we're here for another episode of Bleav in Kentucky, Bleav.com, Bleav Podcast Network, alongside Double Zero, the 96 MOP, Tony Delk. My name is Vinny Hardy. What's up, TD?
Nothing much, man. Nothing but a great day at the ATL. I'm happy to be here. Not complaining. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of other things that could be going on in my life and in the world, but just basically just being in a position where I can help people and looking forward to working with some of my kids later, helping them develop their game, especially my elementary kids. So we have a practice. I have two practices to attend, and then I have to do some training with some elementary kids. My I think it's 6, 7, and 8-year-old kids. So trust me, I have to get my mind right. When I come think about working out with the younger kids.
That's right. We got a big time guest on here with us. A legend, a UK legend, over 1,300 points, over 700 rebounds, over 200 assists, all at 6'4". He did this. He was an All-American. Talking about none other than number 22 himself, Mike Pratt. What's going on, Mike?
Well, it sounds to me like TD's got his hands full with all those youngins, and that takes a lot of patience, man. My mother taught 7th and 8th grade English and math many, many years ago, and she always would talk about the patience, that's the characters they are at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But she enjoyed it. She loved teaching, so I can tell you love it too.
And also attention span, you know what I'm saying? That attention span is about 3 seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, What's next? Let's go do this. You might have one kid over the corner talking, the other kid is listening, the other kid is dribbling the ball, the other kid wants to shoot, and one kid want to talk to his mom and dad, and it's just like, oh my God. But I tell you what I have developed since I've started my TDBA is that I have developed patience, and that's the one thing when I started coaching, with Coach Cal at Kentucky, New Mexico State with Marvin Menzies, is developing patience with the younger generation. It's a lot different from when Mike, myself played, 20, 30 years ago, is that, these kids have a lot more distractions, a lot more things to think about and worry about. We could just walk in the gym and it's so funny now that as soon as, I give them a break, everybody's checking their phone. I'm like, over there tweeting some, texting something. I'm just like, I'm kind of jealous that we didn't have anything, but it kept us focused though. You got to think about what would keep you focused is when you don't have that cell phone, you don't have the distraction, not worried about social media, what people are saying about you. So that's the one thing I think when I look back to coming from my little small town and eventually arriving in Lexington was being able to stay focused on my basketball game and not get distracted. What do you have to say about yourself, as you grew up in a small town or just growing up and navigating through, through basketball?
Well, first of all, let me say you were such a special player. It's hard for you to understand why somebody can't do things the way you did them or have the same drive that you did. I mean, that's true. It's so true about guys that are special players. You just don't have that patience, even at a young age, let alone at college. I know you saw that in college. You probably were frustrated at times in college. Mm-hmm. Guys don't pick it up quick enough, or they can't do it, or don't want to do it your way, whatever it may be. It's very hard for guys that are special players like you.
Right.
And I think that growing up in Dayton, Ohio, I grew up in the blue collar neighborhood, and we grew up riding our bikes to the playground, and we grew up playing on the playgrounds, which was good for me because the high schools were locked up in the summer. We either played baseball, football, or basketball at the park. And then as we got older, we figured out a way to go around Dayton and play at other parks. And it was a great learning lesson for me on the floor and off the floor, guys. And it was just all about having fun then and playing, competing. You learned to compete. You didn't worry about your phone. You didn't worry about the internet because there wasn't. But you learned to get PO'd at guys, get PO'd at guys you played with, played against. It doesn't make any difference. But you learned to, when it was all over, you learned to put it aside. And then you also, when you played against the older guys, when you got your buns beat, You learned how they did it. You thought about how they did it. And you probably thought to yourself, TD, that, well, next time I'm going to get them on that situation. I'm going to get them, right?
So kind of talk about, it's funny you say, like just riding your bike to different neighborhoods and just playing with the older guys. And, as we see AAU has advanced, our game from a standpoint of, ranking these kids. And so every kid doesn't need to be played up a grade or two. And my take on it, your take might be different. I think if you are a dominant kid, let's say you 6'4", 6'5", and you're 11 to 12-year-old kid, and you are the best kid, you're a dominant kid on the floor, I could see that kid from a competition standpoint of moving up. But how today's game is, and it's these parents that want to play their sons and daughters a year up. How do you think about, where the game is at right now compared to what it was 15, 20 years ago?
Well, I think that's, I don't know if I would sacrifice my senior year in high school to go to college. I wouldn't do that because I had such a lot of fun in college. Okay. And you did too. I could tell by the way you played, the teams you played on. So that will all happen, but I wouldn't sacrifice my high school, my last high school year, the high school teammates that you grew up with or played with until that point, going to the prom, whatever it may be, whatever that happens as a senior. I wouldn't have given that up. I mean, the NBA is not going anywhere. If you think by moving up a year, it's going to help you, you can either play or you can't play. They'll find you. I don't care if you're playing at South Dakota State or Kentucky or New Mexico State. They'll find you. So I'm not in. I'm in for the young guys and gals to take advantage of 4 years of high school, because what they don't understand, I think, TD and Vinny, is what a great leap that is from high school to college. And some guys can do it. Okay, Karl Anthony Towns, he didn't move up a class, but he made the jump, let's say, big time from his senior year to college. But I think Devin Askew is a guy that probably made a mistake in leaving high school. And I don't know if it's a correctable error, guys. I don't know. He seems to want to flee from a tough year and go to Texas when he said he was, he's from California, so he splits the difference. And I understand if you're happy, but did moving up that year, I think it affected his game and how he could adjust to the college game. Didn't have enough experience. And I'm against that. Now, to your point, when I was playing either at the parks, playgrounds, wherever, when I was growing up, you had to hold the court, right? And if you were on the right team, you could hold the court, or you went to the end, right? And you sat. Okay. I
remember that.
So I know you do. And many times that you got picked up when you're young on a team, because I was maybe 6 foot, 6'3" now. I might have been 6 foot in high school, and they said, okay, or 8th grade, come on, play with us. Well, if the wrong team picked me, I had to go back to the end of the line. I lost my place, right? But I'm learning from all that. Okay, I'm learning that I want to stay up for 3 or 4 games till I get too tired. I learned from that. I learned to compete. That was a form of competition. And if you dislike sitting for a while, which sometimes was a long time, if you dislike that, you figured out how to get better, okay? Or pick a better team, right?
Yes. You become what you do is you become a GM, and I know Vinny want to get some questions in here. I mean, this is my dude, Mike, Vinny, but I think it's so funny that you said it, and before we get to, I know we don't want to get too in depth with what we're talking about right now, but I know all of us want to send our condolences to the Clark family. We lost one of our own, beautiful guy, didn't get a chance to showcase his skill set and let the world see how good he's going to be on a collegiate level. I feel bad in so many ways for Terrence, his family, and just our fans, that we've seen kids come and go after 1 year, and we've gotten a chance to see them and, enjoy the experience with them. We didn't really get a chance to enjoy the experience with Terrence like we have with so many others.
I agree. And he shouldn't have gone. He should have stayed another year, but that's in hindsight. But I said that when he made his decision. But I remember being a sophomore and junior in high school, and I lost two of my football teammates over in Vietnam, and a third guy I'd gone to high school with over there. And I found out that they were 19 and 20, and I know how I thought I can remember finding out about these guys from people and thinking, man, how can that happen to somebody who's 19 years old or 20? And I looked at Terrence Clark. I'm going, man, this kid, he just had his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah.
And I'm on the back nine of life. You're probably in between the.
I'm in the middle, man. I'm on the ninth hole,
Mm-hmm.
man. I'm on the ninth. I'm thinking, like I said, God willing, if that man, if he comes calling now, I got to go, man. If it's now the ninth hole, it is what it is.
But this kid, it was so sad, and it reminded me of losing those three friends when they went to Vietnam. So prayers and thoughts go to his family.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, you guys, because you guys traveled to the SEC tournament, you and Tom, right, Mike? That was the only road game.
Yeah, that's the first. Yeah.
So Tony, you were there doing radio. Mike, you were there for UK Sports Network. And he played the first 7 games and got hurt. If you guys flash back to Jared Vanderbilt, we know how Kentucky fans are. You guys know what the spotlight is like. A lot of fans were like, he's not going to play. He's tanking it. He's mailed it in. We heard the same things with Keon Brooks when, things went a little longer than everybody thought with his injury. Keon comes back, and then you start hearing the same thing with Terrence. Well, he's just no Jared Vanderbilt. He's not going to play. And then he comes back the last game of the season, which happened to be that game against Mississippi State. We all saw him injured on the sideline, but he was you guys have been in the huddles, know about team chemistry. He was always waving his towel. As bad as the season was, the dude seemed to be about as positive as you could be all the time, no matter what was going on.
Yeah, I think the Vanderbilt situation, I couldn't tell you what that was about. Okay, I really couldn't tell you, but I think the hangover from that to the Big Blue Nation for Clark and Keon, I think the hangover from that experience really hurt those two, and it's sad. Of course, I think it's a small minority of the fan base think about it that way. A large portion of the fan base wish the kid would come back, or look forward to that young fella coming back. And I just think we take, and TD, you could speak to this. I think we lump everybody together versus the people that are yapping about something like that versus the ones that are still behind these young fellas. We have a tendency to lump it all together.
Well, I think, the issue I have is that people don't know how long your body, it takes your body to heal. When you've had injuries, ankle injuries, with me, my final and most painful injury was I ruptured my patellar tendon. And, a doctor can give you 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 12 months. But what doctor has actually gone through that? What doctor has had to go through a rehab for that amount of time? So really, they just putting a timetable on it. Even with these organizations, as players have felt like, okay, they feel like, well, the doctor said but it's not the doctor's body, it's my body. The doctor said you should be back by 4 to 6 weeks. What's taking you so long? So as a player, you start feeling the pressure. I don't think the fans understand until they have suffered an injury that takes longer than 4 to 6 weeks. We're not talking about, just I fall down, I get back up, I got a little scrape, and I'm going to be fine. When you have something major to your foot, your knee, your ankle, your arm, your shoulder, it takes time. And I don't think people who haven't sustained an injury, they don't understand that. And even with trainers, I'm like, okay, trainers, you're rushing me back, but once again, have you had this injury? Like when I suffered my injury, I wanted to talk to some people who have had the injury, who've sustained the injury. It only makes sense because they went through it. And then even though they've gone through it, their body's different from my body, but I'm not going to let a doctor, organization, a coach rush me back. And I don't rush my players back. I said, listen, you come back when you feel your body's ready. So what I feel in my body, I can speak for you and your body and vice versa. So the kids, they know their body. So whether the fans, the the coaching staff, the trainers, like, hey man, you should be ready right now. The doctor said you're good. But okay, what coach, what trainer, what doctor has had that injury and have to endure the rehab process? It takes time. So, when you see players, and it's like, oh well, he's getting the money now. He don't want to come back and play anymore. I'm like, no. The competitors never leave you. But when you start feeling something, it doesn't feel right. And no, it might not ever be 100%, but when it gets to 90, 95, how you run. Because what usually happens, Mike, and you know this, Benny, is that you sustain another injury because you start overcompensating. I've been there, done that before. When I had my first knee surgery, it was I had tendonitis, went in, shaved some deposit off my some calcium deposit off my kneecap, and I had a meniscus tear. So the doctor was like, hey, you'll be back in. He gave me like, let's say 2 months. And so started the season. I was like, okay, they're gonna slowly work me in on the minute restriction. And first game, somebody made a move. I tried to slide over, tweaked it. I missed another 10 games. Because in my mind, I knew I wasn't ready, but I felt the pressure like, TD, when you're coming back, man, we need you back. We're losing a couple games, man, and we need you scoring. So I'm like, all right, okay. So even though I wasn't ready, my mind was ready, but you have to listen to your body.
Oh, I think you're spot on. And I do agree with you 100%. The average person doesn't have a fine-tuned body that an athlete has at certain points in our careers. And they don't know how the body responds, a body tuned like that. They have no idea. And it is about a feel. And I give Calipari and other coaches too credit because they're letting these guys come at their own pace. The doctors, they're listening to the doctors, but they're also listening to the player.
Yeah.
And, back in the day when I played, they just said, well, doc said you can play, get your buns out there. So you got your buns out there,
Yeah.
But things have changed. It's
have.
better now. It's better now to listen to the player who's trying to listen to his body.
Well, also, I think if you want to have a career past a certain, length of time, you better listen to your body. It's like taking care of your body and putting the right foods in, and also doing the right conditioning, but also getting the proper rest, not abusing your body, but listening to your body. And regardless of what somebody else might do, is that I can't do what that person, does with his body. My body's totally different. And I think that's the study when I look at these different studies about, the body and how much pain it can endure. The endurance part of the cardio part of it is, you study different people, different individuals, the heart rate. I mean, everybody has a different heartbeat, but when you understand like what it takes to excel, and also all the years of playing a particular sport, it's like a doctor gave me this analogy. He said, Tony, it'd be like you driving your car. Your car has 400,000 miles on it, and you haven't changed tires in 10 years. You're going down the freeway, and you have a blowout, and you're looking back and saying, like, man, I wish I had changed them tires. We can't go. We can't go to Amazon and get a new leg, a new kneecap, some new ankles. I mean, it would be great to go out, but once again, your body is wear and tear on your body. When you've been doing this for so long, that eventually it's going to break down at some point in time. As great as LeBron has been, I mean, he's probably one of the few players in the history of this game that, man, his body has held up. Now, he's invested a lot of money into his body, which rightfully so. I would have too, because that body has made him close to $1 billion, but everybody's body is not like LeBron. And LeBron has been very lucky, because I was thinking about, there was a streak of Michael Jordan of like 800, 900 something games of consecutive scoring, and I remember this when Michael played. I was like, man, that record would never be broken. And by God, LeBron James breaks that record. So imagine you play a game and you twist your ankle in the first quarter. When let's say 600 games into this record, the record is gone. So we're looking at something that happened for Michael Jordan over a 10, 11-year span. And I'm thinking, man, that dude LeBron is a special talent. Like you said, special talent. He's a special talent.
Yeah, no question. And it's amazing that his body is held up. I think he's starting to show some cracks now, but why wouldn't he? He's been playing at that level that hard since he's 18 years old.
Man.
I mean, why wouldn't your body start breaking down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys think a lot of people are talking like maybe the Celtics or team should still draft Terrence Clark or honor him on the draft? A lot of people think Boston, since he's from that area. Do you think something like that will happen in a couple months when the draft rolls around?
Well, I wouldn't want to say anything about anybody as far as NBA people, what they do with their draft choices. They've done some of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. But saying that, it would be quite a compliment to Terrence and his family if they, let's say they've got multiple seconds and they don't think there's somebody there and they take Terrence. I would say they'd have to clear that through the NBA league office, but it would be a neat thing, I think.
It would be. And I have to agree with Mike, man. I mean, I would love that. I think Brad Stevens, some of the players who got to know him, who met him, everyone had great things to say about him. And if the organization decides to do that, which is the organization I played for, first class organization, it speaks volume for just how they thought about him, but just, doing something first class, something that's never been done before, when a player is, has declared, and he puts his name out there, he wants to be an NBA player, he's from that city and probably grew up being a Celtic fan. I'm sure he was a Celtic fan growing up. And it's, like I said, it's just tough because, as I was replaying in my head, I'm like, man, this kid is getting ready for the draft. And I remember being a 22-year-old kid. I remember working out Eric Bledsoe and John Wall and getting those guys ready, going and watching pre-draft workouts and just how excited, you were to be at some point in time, I'm going to be an NBA player. I'm working out for NBA organization. So that brought just the instant excitement. And, we also got to think about BJ. BJ Boss was right there with him, man. It's just like, dude, we just finished working out. I can't even like, when I think about it, it's like going to work out with a good friend and, you're having fun and an accident happened. And not only but it's a tragedy because now you're not coming back from this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one thing to twist your ankle and be like, oh man, dang, he got hurt again. He gonna be out for a couple of weeks. Like, there's no coming back from that, and I have to think about, BJ, like this is going to stay with him for the rest of his life.
You're right. He was the first one on the scene. And I've thought about that many times too. Every time he takes the floor, anytime he talks about, or somebody talks about his experience in Kentucky, it will be with Terrence Clark. And every time he cashes a check or plays a game, I'm sure it'll be in the back of his mind for a while. Maybe he'll work his way out, but he'll never forget it. Never.
No. And we don't know how it's going to affect, a 19-year-old kid either, just to see someone, a friend that you just finished working out with tragically die in front of your eyes, man. And there's nothing you can do. I couldn't imagine just, getting out of the car and going up and seeing him and man, I can't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dang, we just had a good workout. Of course, we were just joking around, playing, having fun, and your life is over, man. It's like, wow. And I got to start my career, with that in the back of my mind. But I'm sure he's going to honor him. He's going to do something special for him. It's going to be, he will never be forgotten. I think when, being a part of our family, Terrence will, and so many other players who've come and gone, you're part of our family. I think that's the one. I've always loved Coach Cal, how he's been generous with his time, but also he's allowed so many players not to say, hey, my job is in jeopardy, or, I feel threatened that somebody's trying to take my job. Is that when you have a coach that's secure and he want to see people succeed, he's not one of those guys that, okay, man, I got to keep you here another year or two, so it can help my pockets. Coach Cal is taken care of. When you have a lifetime deal, I mean, why am I so worried about, guys that come and go? These are the dreams that these guys live for. And I'm, I want to get into the OTE, which is the overtime elite, which is going to be a new league starting up. And I know they put a lot of money into this league, but, it's starting with 16 to 18-year-old kids. I don't know how that's going to impact, the collegiate game, the high school game, even with the G League being able to take players from high school. So there's so many different options for kids right now. As we talked about the distraction that we didn't have, these kids have so many distractions right now. And I'm thinking about this new league that's about to start up, that I think they raised over $100-something million they raised for this league.
I haven't seen that number. Wow,
Yeah.
that's wow.
Overtime, it's going to be overtime elite, and they're targeting 16 to 18-year-old kids, and they're going to start them off with 100,000.
TD, again, I think, and look, money's money. I get that. But I mean, we're taking these young fellas' youth away from them. I mean, look, even if they go to the G League or go to the NBA, if there's no one and done, there's still going to be 18 and 19-year-old fellas with older guys, experienced guys, and they're put into a different world. And now some fellas, their mother moves or dad moves up with them to take care of them at that young age, and I think it's wonderful. I've got this saying that the most influential group to these young guys are family, which many times can be terrific, but many times there's family people that get involved that don't know what they're talking about. And there's friends, and some friends are a great support system, and some are just hanging on to take advantage of whoever that player is. And then there's the fools, the people that hang around them that have no clue, are just like bloodsuckers. Now, and I say that respectfully to the family, but it's true, because these young fellas, they're immature. They don't know, they think they know, but they don't know. You know that. I mean,
right.
And so you put them in a situation where the odds of the majority of them are against them to succeed because they're so damn young. There's so many other things going on in the world around them, as you said, that, I would say try to put your young fella or your young lady in a situation where the odds favor them to be successful.
Yeah.
And I don't see a 16 or 18-year-old kid being paid $100,000 a year and missing out on a large portion of his high school is really good.
Yeah.
Being successful, coming off of a 9-16 season. You and I talked about it on the phone last week, Mike, about how changes have to be made, and we see some changes in the coaching staff. We see Tony Barbie going to Central Michigan. Joel Justice is now at Arizona State as a top assistant, and looks like Orlando Antigua is going to be back, and possibly Chin Coleman from Illinois. Your guys' thoughts, because you guys are both coached and done all those things as well. You guys' thoughts on the way the staff appears to be coming together?
Well, I talked to Calipari last summer, and he was talking last summer about he needed assistants who would recruit 24/7. He said to me, the game's changed. The game you know and I know, and I will say this, the game TD knows as far as recruiting, it's not that way anymore. And it's a 24/7 year, it's 24/7 hours a day. I think that the recruiting has tailed off some, not a lot, but some. And I think that he knew he needed to make a change or two. But Tony always wanted to be a head coach again. More power to him. Take off and get it done. I wish you well, and
right.
I know Tony, and hope it's a great fit for him. And Joel was trying to find his way, and he tried to get that Radford job, guys, and he tried to get the UNC job in UNCG. Couldn't get either one of them. So maybe he thought that if I go to Arizona State, where I have some West Coast connections, I might have a better job of moving on. And for a young assistant, not an older assistant, but a young assistant, climbing that ladder, TD, is the most important thing. That's why you went to New Mexico State. You thought you were climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
And that was a step on the way up. And so Joel's in that same situation.
And you have to trust and take a risk. You have to trust and believe in, who you are as an individual. And, I know someone told me years ago, even when I was on Coach Cal's staff, it was like, you don't want to spend, they say after 4 years, you should be off of staff. That coach should either have helped you move on, because you start getting complacent, and you don't want to get complacent with knowing that you have, you want to be the head coach at some point in time. And here's the thing about universities, that they have to hire you at some point in time and make you a head coach. Every coach that became a head coach, other than maybe Beeline, I think he's been a head coach at every stop he's been
Every
at.
stop.
You never had to be an assistant. I say most coaches are assistant coaches. And when you go to these universities, ADs are talking about, well, you don't have any head coaching experience. How am I gonna get that head coaching experience if someone doesn't hire me? You can only be an assistant for so long before someone take a risk and say, you know what, you paid your dues. It's time for us to hire you and make you our head coach and believe in you, trust in you, and give you the resources to be successful, because you can't be successful with not having the right resources. And when I think about, O and I work together, along with Kenny Payne, and those guys were tirelessly on the road working and bringing in recruits. But I just think kids just have so many more options right now. I don't think every kid in their mind, I have to go to Duke, I have to go to North Carolina, I have to go to Kentucky. You don't have to go to the Blue Bloods to be an NBA player. I mean, and it's just, I know Cal is like, man, we losing recruits. I'm like, not really. I mean, you're going to get the recruits that want to come. The ones that don't, they see their picture, brighter somewhere else. You take Kate Cunningham is that top player. He didn't go to a Blue Blood. He was fine going to Oklahoma State, and he's still going to be drafted number 1. So I don't have to go to a Blue Blood to be drafted in the NBA or have a higher draft pick. I don't have to do that anymore. So that selling point is not there anymore. Oh, you got to come to our university. You're going to have all the TV games. You're going to have all the resources. Kids know differently now. Kids have their own social media. I have my own marketing. I have my own marketing right now with my cell phone. These kids can go and look at their phone and right now they can sell themselves. We probably know the top players coming out next year just by them having a social media platform. So they have platforms now that kids even 10 years ago didn't have. And, even probably 5 years ago, these are kids that have they have a fan base. They actually bring value to universities now because they have followers.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, TV, and I think that the sad thing about it, a couple of things is, it's like KP. I've known KP since he came out when he was at Louisville here, and then we brought him in with the Hornets on a 10-day deal. I think the world of the guy, and he's been an assistant a long time, in 9 years at Kentucky. I think a tendency we all have is that we say, I'm not leaving. I've got a good spot. I'm making a lot of money. I'm at a high profile school. I'm just not going to take Morehead State or you name it, a job that's been perceived to be low major or mid major. I'm going to hold out for Georgia. Well, right. The fact of the matter is U of L passed on KP, and they shouldn't have. And I don't know Chris Mack. I have nothing to against him. But I know they should have hired KP, but they were afraid to, because they said he'd never been a head coach, but he was one of their own. So I think KP finally realized that, look, I can't wait around for this top job and hope I get it. I need to better myself and my resume by going to the Knicks, and that might be a better jumping off spot for him.
But also I think is, to your point, taking a risk. I mean, somebody had to hire Mac. Mac just wasn't no off the street dude that became a head coach. I mean, somebody had to take a risk and say he was an assistant coach. So to me, I hate that excuse for any AD president to use that excuse for not hiring someone. Shame on them. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Really it is, because just because you hire an experienced head coach, don't guarantee that you're going to be a successful team. So
I agree.
I hate when, think about all the coaches who got fired who were head coaches this year. Okay, you hired them as a head coach, you fired them as a head coach. So don't use the excuse. I'd rather for you say, tell me you don't want to hire me. Don't tell me I'm not qualified. Don't hit me with this, you don't have any head coaching experience. I don't care about that. Is that I know I can coach. My players believe in me, and the coach that I'm working for, he's gonna have my back because he sees me every day. When you just meet me once for an interview and you make that judgment, you make that call, it's like, before I even walked in here, you already, in your mind, you had already hired someone else anyway. So really you just wasting my time, and I didn't want to be in that situation. And as I was, coming up the ranks, I was like, I'm gonna make a decision that's gonna be best for Tony Delk, and I'm not chasing something that I know I'm qualified to be a head coach. I'm not, I've been around this game for too long. I've been around too many good coaches. I'm watching video. I have a pulse on today's game, but I don't want to keep trying to sell myself to someone when I'm like, okay, are you qualified to do your job? You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to hire you too. So
that's right.
They took a risk. You didn't just come off the street and they say, hey, we're going to make you the AD. Somebody had to hire you, and you had to, get the experience and be in the position to be hired, and had to go in and do an interview. And they say, you know what? All right, I think I'm going to hire you, and you're going to be our AD now. Same exact scenario, but it's like, it's different when it's the inexperienced coach that comes in that doesn't have a head coaching experience, and you're not looking at it. It's like somebody had to hire me and put me in this position as well.
True.
You want to find a job as an assistant where you have a chance to succeed because you're climbing that ladder. But I think too many coaches look at some jobs, look down their nose at some jobs, and we're going to wait for the Georgias or the Alabamas, whatever it is. And it's like the guy at Alabama now. He was a high school coach, and Bobby Hurley brought him. I got to know him and brought him to Buffalo, and then he got the head coaching job when Hurley left. And now he's at Alabama. He's moved up the ladder. He's climbed up the ladder. And I just think the impatience, not only in the high school players, but in a lot of ADs, the impatience in who they hire. They want an instant success. They want to win the press conference. You've heard that. That's the most important thing. And then what happens later on happens. But it really starts with hiring a person that you feel can do the job. It's got nothing to do with whether he's an assistant or head coach. It's whether you do your research, you talk to people. And if they say Tony Delk's ready, Tony Delk can do the things you want, you take Tony Delk. Okay, you don't ask the question whether he'd ever been a head coach or not. I mean, you're asking about Tony Delk for a reason. There's interest. Someone told you he's a hot property in the assistant coaches ranks. You're talking to him for a reason. Don't back out at the other end on the way out the door and say, oh, by the way, Tony, you've never been a head coach. That's bullshit.
I agree. There's the thing, Mike, I've always felt that way. Now I think I can say it because I feel it. And I know it's true. It's true for so many people that they have to spend so many years trying to prove themselves, and you're wasting valuable years of your life to try to prove to someone that you can be successful if I'm giving the opportunity. That's all I want. Yeah. Opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's all you open the door. Let me walk through.
That's it. I'll say this real quick before you wrap it up, because I know TD, you got to run. Everybody check Mike out, ESPN 680. He's doing a show 10 to noon with the great Dan Issel. So 2 legendary cats doing their thing weekdays 10 to noon. And when you watch a game, Mike, what hat do you wear? Coach, analyst, former player? What hat do you put on when you're watching a game just in your living room?
I try to get a hat with a cap on the front that says coach and one on the back that says player. Okay? And I try not to beat the kids up, the young guys up. I try not to do that. I will point out when something's not working, but I try not to make it a point where you say, okay, Vin Hardy, he's not doing this, this, and this. You can say it differently and get your point across without naming names, okay? Or maybe it's a bad shot, an ill-advised shot. I just think that you got to remember when you coached, how you felt, and when you played, how you felt. That's where I go from.
Man, we thank you for hopping on. I'm here with the legend 00, the legend 22. Enjoyed it thoroughly, and I have to definitely get you on again, Mike. And hope you enjoy the Derby this weekend. And we hope it's good weather for once. And and TD, we talked about them Derby memories a couple podcasts ago. So
that's right.
Hey, make some money for me. Mike, make some money for me, man. Hey, put me
I'll put
trifecta, man.
I'll put 10 on the one horse for you, huh?
Oh,
all right, guys. Hold it down. Take care, man. Thanks for coming on, Mike.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Okay.
Y'all take care, everybody. Thanks again. Another episode of Bleav in Kentucky presented by Bet Online. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks again, everybody.